items about cost of attendance that you need to be careful with. Student comes in and tells you they want to buy a car, you're probably going to not increase their cost of attendance for buying a car. A student comes in and they're in a situation where they've had to move because their husband's job moved and they're trying to commute and they've increased their commuting expenses, probably could document that. Pretty easy to get a MapQuest and a mileage and assess an amount to that. In our situation, most of our students, because we're at a private institution, have exhausted all of the financial aid they're eligible for anyway, so increasing the cost of attendance doesn't do anything but increase possibly a plus loan or an alternative loan, which I try to counsel and not do that, but it depends on the school. If you're at a community college and you can't see where you're coming.
Oh, from Fayetteville State.
Fayetteville State.
But the reason why I'm asking the question is, before I started working at Fayetteville State, I was a state auditor. So
Yeah.
I audited financial aid.
Okay.
And I never saw a situation with.
Sean, why'd you let her in here?
I was used to cost of attendance just being a set number by the school and everybody abided by that number. I never saw where.
That is very, very true. And we do use an overall cost of attendance, and it's okay to just give you what the overall cost of attendance. And I've had auditors that have asked me for the components of that, and some that have not. So until Kamisha, I said.
I was just gonna say, she said Kamisha sent her, that's what got her in the door.
Yeah, she did. She sent Michelle and myself. She said, y'all need to learn what we do.
That's right. That's right. Tell her I said hello, please. She is my, I don't shop, I hate to shop, but Kamisha loves to shop. So she is my shopaholic friend. Don't tell her I told her that. So, but that's exactly right. So you can, but again, I'm back to reasonable. And if the dreaded auditor comes, just kidding, if the auditor comes in and asks you why this student's cost of attendance is greater, then you would say, show me the documentation as to why you did this. And it has to be reasonable, documented, and the feds have some guidelines that you follow, such as dependent care, such as extraordinary transportation expenses, and why. You can also have a group of students, again, somebody else will present on this, that are maybe nursing students that have a lot, a greater charge for uniforms and that kind of thing. So you could have a group of students that has a different cost of attendance than another group of students. So, that's actually reasonable and can happen at schools as well. Additional aid eligibility for children of soldiers, Iraq, Afghanistan, IASG. The state might get into this just because of where they're physically located, any of those of you around the military. Undergraduate student receives new Iraq Afghanistan service grant in an amount equal to the maximum Pell for enrollment status. Reduced for part-time enrollment, which makes sense, they're going to be part-time. Non-need-based aid, not considered estimated financial assistance. Have you gone through estimated financial assistance is used in the case where you're trying to award your aid. Cost, less EFC, less estimated financial assistance, or EFA. Never use that acronym, but they use it a lot. That's what that's talking about. This particular grant is not included in that EFA, so the student can have it on top of their other need-based eligibility. The Department of Defense match flag when submitting to COD must include the CPS transaction. CPS transaction, anybody know what that is? Central Processing System, from where the FAFSA is being processed. And containing the Department of Defense, which is that DOD match flag set to Y or award will not be accepted. Again, what you need to know is that this exists. You need to make sure you're doing it accurately. There's specific guidelines that can help you through this. Won't go into all the gory details today. I've not had one myself yet at Barton, but again, some of those of you who are closer to military bases or those kinds of things, it could happen to anything. It could happen with anybody from the school though. The IASG, Iraq Afghanistan, I think it's easier to say Iraq Afghanistan than that. Awards made up of the same terms and conditions as Pell, so you have to follow those. Payments calculated the same way for Formula 1, Formula 2. Eligibility is limited to 600% of scheduled awards. The Education Department will identify eligible students and notify the schools. So if you're notified about this, you need to make sure you look up and do this appropriately. It's based on a match with the Department of Defense file of the eligible dependent students and will provide the DOD, Department of Defense match flag, with code 298 on the ICER and parent or guardian's date of death. So it's all related to that. I would suggest too that if you get a code 298, you might be dealing with a little bit of a sensitive situation, don't you think? With this student, right? So again, back to why we do what we do. Can't imagine, but just know that may be very sensitive. Again, one of those situations that you don't want to just get in the flow of the numbers, the ID numbers, and the Pell amount, and the Afghanistan award amount. There's two eyes looking at you that's had a situation, right? Education Department sends a letter to each matched student informing of the possible increased eligibility for federal student aid funds, and the letter advises the student to contact you. Don't they do that always, though? Everything that happens, they say, go talk to your financial aid administrator. I was noticing Kachi saying that we're not expected to be tax experts. Yeah, right. We're expected to be somewhat of tax experts because we're having to tell them their accountant did it wrong. That drives me crazy. I want them to audit those people just like they audit me, don't you? Because I'm finding that the tax accountants are not doing things appropriately either by lack of understanding, or they don't know what they're doing, or sometimes they know full well what they're doing because they're getting better refunds for the student, which equates to better fees for them. Again, you got that one free. It's completed through COD. People, I think I've been saying COD, Common Origination and Disbursement. That's the processing system with the Department of Education to process Pell and direct loans. And depending on, my system does that. We create files, send, receive, originate, disperse. There's a whole process that goes in, that's involved. You do the same thing for this. There's the specific to where you can go and take a look at this. The maximum number of days for Pell Advanced funded schools to submit actual disbursements and true has been reduced from 30 days to 7 days. It's the same as currently provided for other FSA program effective 2010. So what I would take from this is there are specific requirements. How many of you will be doing your Pell processing to COD? I got a couple of you, okay. Just know that there are specific date requirements attached to when you send and receive Pell files and loan files for that matter. So bear with me, I'm gonna make sure I don't jip you anything here on the notes. You have to have your security access, and a good friend of mine sitting in this room knows that that's a bear to have to set up. We were at the Federal Student Aid Conference, and Thomas from Lewisburg was brand new trying to get all of that set up. And if you haven't done so, it's a act of Congress to get yourself set up to be able to access these systems. So just know that you can't just go sign in and do it. If you haven't done that already and you've already done it, I got the shaking of head. Hey, Rosemary. This is Rosemary. I told you about, tell her what I told you about her. She'll be presenting to you.
Don't pay attention.
You'll be presenting today?
This afternoon. Just get ready.
All right, bye. Rosemary used to be the director of financial aid at East Carolina University. And she came to North Carolina from Pennsylvania, and I was about 6 months pregnant when she interviewed me. She hired me, and I was like 7.5 months pregnant when she hired me. And I always tell her I was her first and best decision she ever made when she came to North Carolina, because she hired me at ECU. I left Atlanta Christian College, or Barton, where I am now, and worked at ECU. Like I said, I came back. But anyway, she works here. She's vice president here at the College Foundation, and we'll be presenting to you a wealth of knowledge. You guys will enjoy her. She's a lot of fun. She does really good. So enjoy that. Pell reporting, concurrent enrollment. Student may not receive a Pell grant if they're enrolled at 2 or more schools. So how many times I have seen what's called a POP, a Pell overpayment, I think is what that stands for. So many acronyms. Because a student, in this world of online programs, I'm finding students think that they can